Hey, welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. Today we're going to be doing some hot and spicy ribs out on the grill. I've got a couple slabs of St. Louis cut Compart Duroc ribs. They are just beautiful. We're going to be using my new hot and spicy rub. It's kind of a color with the kicks, what I call it. It's got that same beautiful color that Killer Hogs rubs always have, but instead of having those sweet notes, it's going to spice it up for you. Let's get started. So for this recipe, you can use any kind of rib you like. If you like baby back ribs, that's fine. I choose the St. Louis rib because it's a little more meatier and I like the flavor of it. Now you'll notice I've already removed the membrane on these ribs. It's simple to do. Just get a paper towel, pull up the edge of the membrane off the big bones and then just kind of pull it back. That paper towel is going to give you a little grip. You can also take a knife and trim up any excess fat. There's not a whole lot on there, but you just kind of want to square the ribs up. If there's a little fat on the ends, you can go ahead and take that off too. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our hot and spicy rub on it. Now I'm not using a binder on these ribs. I'm just going to let them set and kind of dry brine for a little while. You want to give them about at least 2 hours if you're not going to use a binder. It's going to really let that rub work into the meat. You want to make sure you get both sides, and they can take a pretty good dose. That's all the rub I need on these ribs. They are looking good already, man. You know they're gonna be delicious. I'm gonna set them back in the fridge for about an hour and a half, and then 30 minutes before when I go fire up the green egg, I'm gonna take the ribs out and let them come back to room temperature. Then we're gonna put them on. I'll see you outside. Okay, we're out here at the big green egg. Now today I fired it up with some lump charcoal, just using a little wax starter cube. Let that burn for a little while, get the coals hot, then spread them out a little bit so you get some good even fire. It's got plenty of room to grow as this cook goes on. We're gonna put several chunks of pecan wood on here because we want some good smoke for these ribs. Then we're gonna get our diffuser plate in and we're gonna get our grate on and let it come up to about 250 degrees. That's where we are now. You wanna just adjust your vents to where they're about half open and the bottom vent's about 1 inch. And you can see we're sitting on right about 250 right now. Perfectly ready to go. We got some nice smoke going. Let's get these ribs on. We're just going right on the rack. We'll just space them out, give them plenty of room to breathe, make sure they're straight. Because ribs are going to cook exactly how you lay them on there. If you lay them on curve, they're going to cook with a curve in them. Looks pretty straight to me. Now all we got to do is close the lid and let's let them do their thing. What we are going to do is spritz these ribs, and today I'm just using a little water. I'm not wanting to get anything sweet on these ribs other than a little bit of sugar that's in that hot and spicy rub. We're not making candy ribs today. We're making a good hot and spicy rib. It's going to be about a 4 or 5 hour cook. We're going to watch them, get them off when they need to come off. I'll show you all that as we go. It's been 45 minutes on these ribs, and it's time to start making sure they stay moist. So I've just got some water in a spritz bottle. I'm going to come in and just hit them a little bit. They got a little bit of dry look. You still see a little moisture, but you want to make sure they stay real moist. You can see some of the pepper coming through. Still got our color going. That's exactly what we want to see. I always like to have a little extra rub on hand just to kind of layer it on. You don't want to go too heavy at this point. We're just building flavor here. So just pretty them up a little bit. All right, it's been about 1 hour and a half with the ribs here smoking on the egg. I just want to take a look at them, kind of peek at the backside and see what's going on there. Still got a little bit of moisture from that spritz, and that's good. But let's flip them over. Oh, we're getting some nice color on them. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to let them go meat side down a little while. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit more seasoning on this side because we're eating the backside too. We're not just eating the top side, right? Get a little spritz on this backside, moisten that rub up just a little bit. Looking awesome. You know, if I see a little bit of drippage there where it's turning dark, I'll just go ahead and knock it off. You want to wear a little liner underneath these gloves because it is hot. And we're going to let them roll like this for about a half hour meat down to get some color on that back side and get a little bit more on the top side. We want them cooking even to where they don't get too dark on either side. It'll be time to wrap before long, so let's just keep watching them. I'll show you that in just a minute. The ribs have been going about 30 minutes, and that's when I want to get them flipped back over. They are looking excellent, excellent. It's not going to be long. We're going to need to wrap them. But I just want to get a little more caramelization, a little color on top. I'll go ahead and spritz them again. Keep it moist. Touch more rub. They don't need much. We'll get about 30 minutes. It's going to be time to wrap. All right, it's been about 30 minutes on the ribs, and that's all I need. They're ready to wrap. You don't want them to get much darker than this right here. They're looking great. I mean, I know they're going to be fantastic, but I want to show you how we're going to wrap them and get them tender. You're starting to see they're having some drawback. That's exactly what you want to see. First thing we're going to do is we're going to hit them with a little bit more spritz on the meat side. A little bit of water. Then I'm going to hit them with a touch more rub. Then we're going to get them flipped over because I'm going meat down back on the grill the whole time. Now on the back side, what I'm going to add is a touch of water, a little more rub, and the only thing I'm using in this wrap is some tiger sauce. And it's kind of a cayenne-based sauce, hot sauce. It's got a little bit of a tang to it. It's really good on ribs. Now, if I was doing a sweet and spicy ribs, I could do the butter and brown sugar, but I want to keep these spicy, so I'm just going with that tiger sauce on it. Now last but not least, I'm going to pour just a little bit of apple juice down the side to give it a little bit of braising liquid. You don't need a whole lot, just a couple ounces. You want to make sure it doesn't run out the end, so fold it up pretty quick. Bring your foil over, make a package out of it. You don't want the bones to pop through. They're ready to go back on the grill, meat side down. We're gonna do the same thing for this wrap. A little spritz of water, a little bit more hot and spicy rub, get them flipped over, moisten them up with a little water, a little hot and spicy rub, tiger sauce. Last but not least, we're gonna put a little apple juice down. Get them wrapped up nice and tight, ready to go back on the grill. So now the ribs are wrapped, all we have to do is get them tender. It's gonna take probably about an hour and a half, the temps we're cooking. I'm gonna check them after an hour. I always wanna see how soft they're getting. I don't want them to go too far where they're falling off the bone. I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, our ribs have been wrapped for about an hour, and this is the best time to go ahead and check them because sometimes they are done after an hour. You never know how they're gonna cook, so you don't wanna overdo them. So all I'm gonna do is just take them off, open the foil up and look at them. You can see we've got a little disintegration. That's what I wanna see. We've got a lot of pullback. That's exactly what you want to see. And what I do is I come in here and feel the bones, and these bones feel like these are done. They feel like they could just pop out. If you could take them and twist them a little, that's also a good tell, and they're gonna twist. So we want them to lock up a little bit. You want to get them tender, but you got to know when you get them off, and that's exactly when we want to get these off. So I'm gonna just let them sit here. Go ahead and grab the other rack. We're gonna check it. We don't have as much disintegration, but they've been on the same amount of time, so I know the bones still pretty loose in them. I can twist that one. Just give it a few bone twists. That tells me these are done too. And I know if I picked them up, I could pick them up. They're not gonna fall apart, but they're flexing good. I could break them if I wanted to. So what we wanna do now is take them in and let them rest a few minutes. Then we're gonna dry them out with a little more rub, because what we've done is we've really tenderized them in this foil. They braised in this apple juice and this liquid they've cooked out in the fat. But now we want them to lock back up a little bit so they have some texture when we cut them. So we're just gonna let them rest. We're gonna take them inside and let them just hang out in the foil. 15-20 minutes is all it takes. If you had a cooler and you wanted to drop them down in it to hold them for dinner after a while, you could also do that. You just wanna make sure that lid stays cracked to let some of that steam out, because you don't want them to cook anymore. Let's get these inside. So we brought the ribs inside when they were done, and I just let them hang out on the counter in that foil just because I wanted them to cool off some, stop cooking, and I wanted to be able to handle them. Now, at this point, if you wanted a wet rib, you could take them and sauce them and put them back out on the grill for a little bit. They need about 15-20 minutes to glaze up. But hey, I'm not doing that today. I want this hot and spicy rib, and I like them dry. That's the way I want to eat them. And they're awesome this way. I mean, you've got to try them if you hadn't. The only thing that I would do to these is maybe hit them with a little more of this hot and spicy rub, you know, right before you're going to cut them up and serve them. So all you would do is just give them a little light coat. And that just lets people know they're a dry rub. You know, it kind of takes up a little bit of that moisture that's still left on them. And now they just, you know, they look like dry ribs. That's the way they're supposed to. This is that Memphis style that I grew up with. And they're, you know, some of the best eating ribs you're ever going to have. So now is the important part. We're going to cut these ribs up because I got to try one. I mean, they look so great. And this is, I mean, you can take that rib and hold it. It's not going to break, but I guarantee you it is tender as it can be. And I just take my knife and kind of stand them up and cut in between the bones. There's no, you know, right or wrong way to cut them up. You need a sharp knife. I'm going to grab that one right there. It's got a little smoke ring to it. Still got a little moisture in it. When I squeeze it, I don't know if you can see that. See all that juice coming out of that rib. That's what I'm going for right here, this bite. Man, that's got some spice to it. It's not too hot, but it builds up a little bit. That's what you want in a spicy rib, but it's moist through and through. I mean, the meat's staying on the bone, but you can just see the moisture in it. I mean, I can take it all off right now with my hands. I do have gloves on, it's still warm, but that is a great tasting rib. And that's how you want to eat ribs. I mean, you want a good flavor, you want the smoke to come through in the meat, you want the spice to come in from your rub, not too sweet, not too salty, with a good level of heat. And then that compart meat just, man, it's so rich. It's such a different pork flavor. This is the way pork's supposed to taste. Hey, the way we did these ribs was simple. I started out with 2 racks of St. Louis cut ribs, hit them with a little bit of that spicy rub. If you want to substitute your own spicy rub in there, that's fine. You don't need any binder because we gave them a 2-hour set time to kind of dry brine a little bit. We fired up the smoker. I used the egg. You can use whatever you want. Just run it at about 250 to 275 degrees. Throw some pecan wood in there, get the ribs on. Every 45 minutes we basted them with a little spritz of water, flipped them over, we wrapped them at about the 2.5 hour mark. They were done in another hour. These ribs were perfectly tender. Then I just let them set. Hey, then they're ready to eat. How easy is that? I guarantee you, you can do these at home just like this. If you like what we're doing here at HowToBBQRight, subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. We're going to be doing these videos all year long, so come back and see us. We'll see you next time.